What's up, everyone? Came out here to Labworks Performance here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I brought my 675 Street Triple Turbo bike that we used in Drift 4, Motorcycle vs. Car Drift Battle 4. This isn't the extended swing arm version. This is just the normal wheelbase version. I love this bike, but for some reason, I don't know what's been going on with it, but like in the mid-range, it's been kind of like stumbling a little bit. So I don't know if I have a weak fuel pump. I don't know if it's all in the tune. I don't know if a turbo is going bad. This thing has like 10 years of ass kicking on it and is held up great. We have to run crazy like C16, 120 plus octane gas in it. So it gets a little expensive, but it's been good. So I just wanted to come over here, see Anthony over at Labworks. A great mechanic, good tuner. He has a bunch of bikes, but just wanted to kind of bring it to him and see what's going on, see if it's in the tune or what we got to fix to get it going. He's also going to be tuning a bunch of my other bikes for my Project 765, the 660, both of the speed triples. So this is kind of like a place I'll be spending a lot of time at. He's got a Dyno, so it makes it easy, and he's here at home. Before, I would always have to go to Las Vegas straight to Dynojet to get everything tuned because I didn't have anybody locally to be able to do it. But now, luckily, Anthony started Labworks, and now I have access to be able to tune it here at home with good people and keep everything here with it and save me a drive to Vegas. Even though I love Dynojet and love everything that we do with them, but this just makes it a hell of a lot easier for me. But yeah, more than anything, just wanted to get this on the dyno and see what the hell's going on with this. So here we go.
Let's experiment, because right now we're diagnosing why you're having some sort of fuel cut or lag going on, and that's what's prompting us to dive deeper into, could it possibly be the tune, could it be something with the bike, could it be hardware issues. So now we found a loose wire here, which what I believe is a power on wire. So it's loose, we've tightened it up, and let's see if it does any damage. Let's see if it alleviates our problem.
Nope, that wasn't it. I just got back from trying it, still stumbling. It just falls like when it starts to make boost, it just starts kind of like not bogging out, but it just starts kind of breaking up. So yeah, it wasn't the wire. So we're gonna now test fuel pressure and just kind of see what it's doing on the dyno, see if we can kind of figure it out. So what are you gonna do now?
So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get configuration done so that way we can hook up a pressure gauge to the fuel system, run it on the dyno, and see when it's cutting or it's bogging out, see what the fuel pressure is like, and see if maybe that's the issue. First and foremost, we want to try the little things, the easiest things to get to, the most common problems, I guess you could say. Little option, dude. I want to be smart about this.
So we're going to connect a line that intersects, goes to the fuel pump, so we could test the fuel pressure and see if when it's kind of cutting out, if maybe the fuel pump's just weak. Maybe it's a fuel issue, not a tune issue.
I tell my buddy who's a stunt rider too, the one that was here earlier, when I first started looking at his bikes and stunt stuff, I was like, dude, y'all fucking ride around with bubblegum and duct tape, and he liked that so much that he just says it every time he sees me. He's like, still rolling with that bubblegum and duct tape, bro.
That's how it is.
And I was like, I mean, shit, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Well, at one point in time, it was like the more zip ties you had on your bike, the more better. Duct tape, the cooler you looked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, didn't matter what you could do. You just looked like a badass.
Yeah.
So my first bike that I ever bought, my first sport bike, I blew four motors the first year, and they warranted every single motor. But when I took it in, like, they didn't really know what stunt riding was. This was like in the early days of stunt riding, so I had a mash tank and like zip tie stitching everywhere, and they had no clue. They warranted all four motors, and then finally I grenaded another one like a month after that just couldn't hang, and they finally told me that they wouldn't warranty that one. But to go back to what Anthony's saying about bubblegum and duct tape, we've lived that life and we still do, always. Speaking of bubblegum and zip ties, that thing's not going anywhere.
Up to 50. Let's cycle it again just to make sure we've got adequate pressure. 50 is good. Now let's do something here that, you know, can be overlooked. Let's wash it and see if there's leak down, because you know what that tells me? The fuel pressure regulator is bad, and that could be causing your stumbling.
The fuel pressure regulators, we just crushed it.
So it might be that it you know, it's failing for some reason or another because it's not holding fuel pressure. Because usually what happens is fuel pressure comes in line, whatever the case may be, and fuel pressure regulator is meant to hold that fuel pressure in the system, so that way, let's say you're riding your bike, you stop, turn it off, come back to it, get back on it, start it up again after you're done doing what you're doing, boom, you got fuel pressure. Because again, if it has no fuel pressure, then it's like a long startup, or it doesn't have the fuel pressure to open, you know, to put fuel through the injectors. So it could be causing, you know, a running issue, which, I mean, you know, again, what we're doing is we're shooting for, you know, a fuel issue before anything else. Before I want to mess with the tune, or before I want to start messing with anything electronic, I want to make sure that the basics are covered. I want to make sure that it's got enough fuel pressure. Its spark plugs are good. Obviously, it's running on 3 cylinders. Air box is clean. Air filter is clean. Bike has good voltage. You know, we want to make sure all this stuff is in line before we just start picking at stuff, because again, then you're just shooting in the dark and you're not really doing any diagnostic. You know, check all the basics first, then we move on to the more critical problems, if there even is any. So I see fuel leak down. It's not holding pressure. It's dropped down, you know, 5 pounds just sitting here. I want to see what it does within a 5 to 15 minute span. If it's immediate and there's no pressure being held in the system, it'll just drop to 0. It could drop to 10. On initial prime, you can see that from what our base is here at 45, it's going to jump up to probably almost 55 psi, fall back down to 50. That's normal, you know, but immediately you start seeing a leak down. And you know, I don't know 100% for sure if, you know, fuel pressure regulator is bad, but what happens is it's letting it back into the tank. It's just basically doing a loop, you know what I mean? It's just feeding it back into there, and it's not holding the pressure that it should. Or, you know, something else is going on, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So let's start it up and let's see what it does when we put a load on it, and we'll go from there.
Doing, you can see it starts off good, little rich. Then about 7,000 RPMs, it's just dumping tons of fuel in there and then coming back up. So the sputter's happening around here. That dip is the sputter. So we figured it out. Well, while we're going through everything, we're testing components, Anthony made mention of something to do with the wastegate, and I had remembered I was making a video for Icon. This was probably a couple years ago, and one of the wastegate bolts had come out, so the wastegate was flapping around, and that's when the actual breakup started happening. That's when I first noticed I had to finish the rest of the video with it kind of running like crap. So I ran home, I pulled the wastegate off of a different turbo bike. We swapped it out, and now we have boost. This thing is pulling hard. It's running good. We made a couple of good passes on it. I think it made 143, but you know, this thing, it still is a little bit lean in some places. The map still has some areas that can be kind of worked out and fine-tuned. So I'm hoping we can get this thing into the mid 150s. We'll see. But 10 years of beating on this thing, stock internals, stock fuel pump, and kicking the crap out of it, like really kicking the crap out of it. And this thing is still running, still pulling strong. 150 horsepower, if we can make mid 150s out of a street triple 600, I think these things make like 100 horsepower in stock trim. So like you're talking, you know, half the power increase. I love this bike. This bike rips, pulls hard, streetable, durable, all the good stuff. And I'm excited that we finally got it going. Big thanks to Anthony over here at Labworks. Couldn't do it without him, and now it's time to like do the real cool stuff. He's gonna work out a tune, get this thing really dialed in. We're gonna get this thing running good, more video projects, all that good stuff, and more than anything, I just want to ride it. I love riding turbo bikes, and I just want to get out there and just kick the crap out of it some more. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.